And welcome back to another edition of the Hardwood. This is your discussion about games 3 and 4 of the NBA Finals. And with me today is once again Trumaine Jenkins as we go through everything that's happened. Welcome, TJ.
Thank you for having me, man. Thank you for having me.
Now, I've come to a little bit of controversy over the last couple days because my thoughts on Kyrie Irving in this finals haven't exactly been glowing. Because, yes, he's been scoring points, but he also not exactly been shooting the ball very well overall. And speaking of which, we've got Chris Ransom joining the call. Hey, Chris. TJ, Chris. Good to have everybody on. Can everybody hear me?
Yeah, loud and clear.
Yeah, loud and clear. That's exactly what I want to hear. And for those of you who don't know, this is Chris Ransom. Now, as I was saying, I've come into a little bit of controversy. I'm sure Chris has seen it online with my opinion on Kyrie Irving and the way he's been playing. He was shooting 55% field goals in game 3. In game 4, he ended up with 40 some points, but at the same time in game 4 at the same time in game 4 he shot a good 7 for he's had a good game 3 and game 4. I'll give him that. His game 1 and game 2 not as stellar, didn't shoot as well, but the overall, his decision making still hasn't been great. Yeah, he's at 3 turnovers to 1 steal in game 3. His overall assist, not great. He's not facilitating the greatest. So, what do you guys think about how Kyrie Irving has played in Game 3 and Game 4? Because it seems kind of mixed. It seems more like something that at least to me, that a shooting guard would come up with rather than a point guard. TJ, what do you think?
Well, I think coming in the draft, we already knew from Kyrie Irving when he came into the draft that he was a shooter, he was a ball handler. He's not a true point guard to begin with in the first place. He was playing with Duke. So, but what I will say is that as far as game 3 and game 4, which we'll talk more on game 4 later, he has astounding numbers, scoring 40 points in game 3 with 7 rebounds, 4 assists with a steal. I mean, Kyrie Irving he's one of those players, he's very clutch-minded, and you can depend on him with his last shot. And I think that's what LeBron needs, because LeBron doesn't have that clutch factor. Kyrie Irving probably has the best all-around ball handling that we have seen since, Allen Iverson? So, when you look at Kyrie Irving and look how his game is, you can't argue that he can actually become one of the best if his assist numbers was actually double digit.
Yeah, and Chris, what do you think about uh, Kyrie Irving and how he has performed, more specifically in games 3 and 4?
I think there's two arguments you can make for Kyrie Irving, honestly. I think you can make the argument that he's the Robin, the LeBron, Batman, but I also think that Kyrie Irving is a player that did make mistakes in Game 3. Like you pointed out on yesterday's Draft Utopia podcast, I noticed in Game 3 of the NBA Finals that he missed a lot of critical three-pointers with like 10 minutes left in the fourth quarter of Game 3. Like he missed 2 3-pointers within that span when Cleveland was still ahead before Golden State ended the game on an 11-0 run. Maybe Cleveland could have adjusted their strategy or got someone else on the offense involved, but that's the one thing you pointed out with Kyrie Irving. Even though he scored a lot of points in the last 2 games of the NBA Finals, he also just he made a few mistakes in a critical point in the game.
Yeah, and that is one of the big things that I have said about Kyrie Irving and LeBron James in this series is that they're making critical mistakes, as you pointed out, but not only critical mistakes, but stupid mistakes. And that really didn't change too much. LeBron James was, in Game 3, was 11 for 22 field goals. He took 8 3-pointers and only made 3 of them. Why is LeBron James, Chris, taking 8 3-point shots when the only elite part of his game throughout his career is his ability to dominate going to the hole? If that's your dominant game, you've been in the league 14 years, you got wear and tear on you, but you can still put a hurting on people when you go to the lane. Why is he taking 8 3-point shots?
Well, you got to think that this is they're not playing against any old team. They're playing against Golden State, and when you have a defensive mind like Draymond Green, who is a defensive type person who can guard the 1 through 5 like that, and know how to position everybody on the court for Golden State, it becomes to where you have to. He's trying to take what the defense trying to give him, and most things for LeBron is all about decision making. He has one of the best IQs in the NBA, bar none. So when you go up against Golden State has it to where they want you to play man for them. They want you to play one-on-one. That's what they want you to do. They don't want you to play team ball. They want you to physically play one-on-one with them. And who's the head captain for that? That would be Draymond Green. Draymond Green is the enforcer for that defense.
Yeah, and my apologies. That was the 3 for 8 3-point shooting was for Game 4, not Game 3. So that was my bad, but point still stands. Why is he taking 8 3-point shots? Because, Chris, as you saw in Game 3, he took 9 3-point shots. And yes, he was over 50% shooting in that game. He taking 9 3-point shots, that's a lot for him. Chris?
Yeah.
What do you think about LeBron shooting in Game 3?
Teams that have triple
Yeah, Chris, you're breaking up a little bit.
No, I'm not. I can still hear you fine.
You can? Okay, good. It might just be the equipment then. I'm gonna have to sort that out. Um, okay, and you know, um, now we've talked a good bit about Cleveland in Game 3. Let's roll over to Golden State a little bit. The big X factor that we've all been looking at in this series. Yes, in Game 3, Stephen Curry did have 26 points, but he was 8 of 19 field goal, 42%. He had 13 rebounds, 6 assists. Overall, Curry had a good game. Shooting, not so much. Probably the worst shooting game he's had in quite a while. So, TJ, what do you think about Stephen Curry shooting in Game 3?
Well, Stephen Curry, we argue that he's one of the best shooters, if not the best shooter in the Basketball Association right now as we speak. But at the same time, I always say that there's some games where Stephen Curry can become a volume shooter. And Game 3 resembled that volume shooting, going 5 for 9 for 3, for 3 points, and then for field goals, he was basically 8 for 19. So this was like a very streaky shooting for Steph Curry. Very, very streaky. Just usually you'll see a lot of shots like dropped out for Steph Curry, but in this game, not so much.
Yeah, Chris, and on that vein, yeah, you look at Kevin Durant in Game 3. Once again, he had 31 points, 55% shooting, 51% from 3, 9 rebounds, 4 assists. I mean, he was once again the big factor in Golden State winning Game 3. So, what about his game?
Well, yeah, he was a huge factor in Game 3, but he was a huge factor late in the game. Early in the game, it was Curry, it was Thompson, it was ball distribution, it was Golden State hitting the three-pointers to keep up with Cleveland, and Cleveland did a much better job adjusting to that in the second half. But the one thing Cleveland discounted when they adjusted to that in the second half is they discounted how clutch Kevin Durant could be. And Golden State went on the 11-0 run at the end. Durant hit a shot that put Golden State in the lead, and Golden State did not look back after that point.
Let's talk about that shot, man.
TJ, talk about that shot.
That shot that Kevin Durant took over LeBron in Game 3, that was the dagger. That was the game-changing moment for Golden State to win that game. Kyrie Irving gets the ball, does a couple of crossovers, did a step back, contested the free shot, missed it. Golden State wins the game. Few key mistakes for Cleveland Cavaliers after 2 minutes of the game, and then Golden State pulled away with it.
Yeah, and something else I'm looking at as that had to be a key factor in the Game 3 win is free throws. Golden State shot 91.7%, ice, 92% from the free throw line, and Stephen Curry being 5 for 5, Kevin Durant being 7 for 8, and the only misses on here, Durant missed one free throw, JaVale McGee missed one free throw, and overall 22 for 24 for Golden State from the free throw line. Chris, how did that impact this game?
Well, Golden State just did a much better job hitting three-pointers in the first half, and they also had a record 21 assists in Game 3, I believe, so ball distribution, hitting three-pointers, and going on a run at the right time was the difference. I don't think it was a matter of Cleveland playing bad. It was just a matter of them not executing when the game matters most late in the fourth quarter.
Now, we've gone over Game 3 in pretty good detail. That was Golden State's last win. They won it it was a pretty close game in the fact that it was it was a pretty close game considering that it was 118-113 in the end, and it really showed Golden State's toughness in that regard. But then in Game 4, this is where Cleveland picked it up a little bit. And when they picked it up, we're talking Kyrie Irving, 40 points in 40 minutes, 55% shooting, 4 assists, 7 rebounds, pure shooting guard performance. LeBron James, only 50% shooting, still had 31 points, 60% free throws. Once again, LeBron didn't have the best offensive game, but came through with 10 rebounds, 11 assists, tying Magic Johnson for the most triple-doubles in NBA Finals history. And this is something that TJ and myself have been pointing out over the last couple weeks as we've gone over the NBA Finals, is Cleveland's bench play. It hasn't been great overall, and what was one big difference was J.R. Smith in this game had 15 points. Richard Jefferson had 8 points. Kyle Korver underperforming. He only had 3 points. But overall, with Jefferson, Shumpert, who had 5, Deron Williams, who had 5, and Korver, they pitched in about, overall the bench was not good. They only pitched in 18, 21, 23 points. So I'm looking at can Cleveland win a second game in this series with the bench underperforming as much as it has in the first 3 games, or first 4 games? TJ?
Cleveland at Golden State will not win if the bench cannot get it together. They will not win. There comes a time where you need your bench to really help you. Their bench needs to help the starters. They need to help the starters. Game 4 was an exceptional game. We can talk more about Game 4, how the first quarter Golden State was in foul trouble, honestly, and that's how the game slipped away from them right then and there. But as far as Game 5 and they win without their bench, it's not happening. Not in that arena.
Yeah, and Chris, between LeBron James, Kevin Love, J.R. Smith, and Kyrie Irving, out of Cleveland's 137 points in their win, those four guys amassed for 109 of those points. What does Cleveland have to do to be able to help those guys out? And if they don't, will they be able to sustain that type of production going into Game 5 tonight?
This is a critical Game 5. And let's stick with Game 4 for a second. Cleveland just was played out of this world in Game 4. 49 points in the first quarter, an NBA Finals record, 86 points in the first half. This is the highest rated NBA Finals since 1998 or 97, since the Bulls Jazz. But the point is, this Cleveland team has to step up and play like they did in Game 4 if they want to win this series. And they just need to execute, play better defense. I feel like a lot of breaks as far as foul trouble and them scoring early, the way they did, was the reason they were able to get Game 4. I'm not sure they can maintain that type of play over the next 3 games, but you've got LeBron, you've got Kyrie Irving, Kevin Love. Tristan Thompson has been a little bit underwhelming this series because I didn't see much of Zaza, Golden State center, but he's clearly played better than I expected, whereas Thompson sort of hasn't played as good as he was in last year's NBA Finals. And Thompson was a big reason why Cleveland won in last year's Finals. But as far as this year, 2017, he's the one guy who needs to step up for Cleveland in these next few games.
Yeah, and with those four guys scoring 109 points, now the other thing about that is they scored 109 points, and overall, as a team, they shot the majority of the team's free throws, but the team was only 67% from the foul line. They're 21 for 31, 67.7%. LeBron was 6 for 10. You had Irving was only 3 for 4, so that tells me he wasn't going to the hole as much as he should have been. Then you had Kevin Love was 3 for 3. Tristan Thompson 1 for 2. Richard Jefferson 4 for 6. Richard Jefferson went to the foul line more than Kyrie Irving did. Now that's a little bit concerning to me. If I was sitting there, I'd tell him, you had a great game, but we don't get away from what brought you to the dance. Just remind him you have to, keep getting to the hole. And so that's concerning to me. TJ, how concerning is 67% shooting from the free throw line to you?
Very concerning, if you ask me. I mean, with all the drawing of the fouls that you're drawing, you only went 67%. That's not a very high shooting from the foul line. That's really not high at all. That Golden State can easily bounce back from that with just 1-3. Like, if you give Golden State one opportunity to hit a 3, that's all they need. They only need one shot to know they have a green light. They only need that one shot. And that can range from anywhere from Kevin Durant to Klay Thompson to Steph Curry. And if he gets hot, even Draymond Green, they are a shooting team. So you have to, if you're going to be able to draw fouls, you have to capitalize. That's why they call the fouls free shots, free buckets.
Yeah, and something I want to point out, Golden State has, as I said before, Golden State, as Kevin Durant goes, they go as a team. And in Game 4, Durant did score 35 points, but he was 9 of 22 field goals. To TJ's point, he didn't shoot very well, 40% shooting, 2 for 9 from 3, 22% from 3. Once again, though, extremely good from the foul line, 15 for 16. So Durant scored 35 points, but he scored it on 9 from 22 field goals. Then, when Durant wasn't on, you go down, Stephen Curry. 14 points, 4 for 13 field goals. So, if you pay attention, when Durant plays well, Curry plays well. Durant didn't play as well. Curry didn't play as well. Golden State only scored 116 points. And as TJ, you've been mentioned, Golden State is an offensive team. So if you're looking at it from this perspective, the Golden State Warriors, Sean Livingston nearly scored as much as Stephen Curry. Klay Thompson was 4 for 11. This was an extremely poor shooting game. Draymond Green had 16 points. He was the second leading scorer on the team. And he was only 6 for 16. So overall, Golden State was only 44.8% from the field. And their free throw percentage, which had been stellar up in the series up to this game, was only 75%. So what, Chris, does Kevin Durant have to do to get back on track? And if he gets back on track, will that create a domino effect for the rest of the team?
Yeah, I just think it comes down to the time of possession. So team's going to make the fewest turnovers and who's going to execute the most. I think those are going to be the key for Game 5. Because Durant is one of these players like LeBron that can go off at any point. And that's what makes Durant so dangerous. He's playing with another one of those types of players in Steph Curry, who's good. But Curry is usually hot or cold one game. And he's consistent. So that's the other thing. Curry is one of the most consistent players in terms of scoring and passing and getting everyone involved. But Durant is one of those players that can just, when he's in the zone, it's very difficult to beat the team he's playing on.
Yeah, and TJ, I have to ask you, what are the chances we see James McAdoo make the NBA Finals game-winning shot?
I don't think it's highly, but you never know in the NBA what can happen, especially in the finals. Anything can happen. The minute that James McAdoo can make a shot, and it is the game winner, I will be more shocked than ever because we have not. Did he even score in any of these finals yet?
No, I don't think so. It was one of those things. I think it's telling that you said score period. When I'm talking about a game-winning shot, you're like, well, is he just gonna score? It's like, has he scored at all? You know, he played 2 minutes last game. I figured, you know, he only scored 2 minutes, but the one of the things I'm noticing about the finals is the amount of minutes the starters and the six-men are playing. Well, it is a little bit more spread out for Golden State with Livingston and Iguodala both getting pretty quality minutes, 15 to around 22 minutes a game for both of them. The overall between the 10 starters for both teams, they're looking at a total of anywhere from 35 to almost 42, 43 minutes a game. So how much is fatigue, TJ, going to factor in going into Game 5 because the NBA Final doesn't spread out their games very much. So how much is fatigue going to come into this, and how is that going to tie into the bench play that we've been focusing on so much?
Well, fatigue is going to hit mostly Cleveland and Golden State. Golden State, the overall where they have shooters on the bench, they have shooters, starting shooters, they have just shooters, period. So when you have production on your bench like Golden State, you nearly don't get as tired, where Cleveland, you really don't have a lot of bench production. So your starters have to play the majority of the minutes to get, to get the points up. Especially in this.
Didn't score a lot, but their bench scoring was spread out quite a bit. And with where Cleveland had 21 points off their bench in Game 3, you had Cleveland with almost 32 points off their bench that we're seeing here. So that's a good 10-point swing strictly off the bench. And now, that being said, Game 5 coming up, you had, with the free throws, the bench play, and everything else, Cleveland won 137-116 in Game 4. Golden State won 118-113 in Game 3. What are your predictions for Game 5? TJ, you're up first.
All right. Well, for Golden State, let's start off with the foul trouble. Golden State cannot get any foul trouble like they did in Game 4. That's unacceptable. That's how they lost. That's how they lost Game 4. They have to come with a better mindset, and they need to have a better shooting. Just by looking at their shooting stats, Kevin Durant went two for 9 for 3. Stephen Curry went the same. Klay Thompson went 4 for 10. Draymond went 1 for 6. That's not good. That's not good at all. That's a very, very bad shooting night, and that's what happened. As far for Cleveland, they need to have the same game and the same mentality they had in Game 4. They need to be on the more aggressive side. They need to be alert because, once again, y'all playing for a championship. Y'all only have one game. They still have 3. So you have to be alert. You have to be open eyes. You have to be ready because y'all playing in Oracle Arena, which, by the way, that helps Golden State out more because for some reason they're a homebody team when they play Cleveland, and we have seen it in the finals what they can do when they're home. That crowd gets behind them. One shot is all it takes.
Yeah, and Chris, going back to you, same question. Game 5. What do you see come out of it, and what do these teams need to do to win Game 5?
Well, I think for Golden State, you got to avoid foul trouble early because with Golden State, Draymond Green got in foul trouble in 3 of the first 4 games with, and that's something he's got to work on. Like, he can't get in foul trouble early in the game, but got to play good defense. So it's going to be critical for Golden State to avoid that foul trouble. I believe in Game 4, Curry, Thompson, and Green were all in foul trouble. Like, they all had 2 fouls in the first quarter, which is one of the reasons why Cleveland was able to outscore Golden State the way they did. Maybe I'm wrong about that, TJ. You're feel free to interject or interrupt and
you're definitely right, man. You're definitely right. That first quarter alone was game long was crazy. Bad start for Golden State, very bad start. They had a lot of fouls during that first quarter. A lot. During Draymond Green, Steph played a little bit on Kevin Durant, but not too much. You had Draymond Green get a tech. Then you had Steve Kerr who got a tech. So a lot of fouls in that game. They really cannot have that many fouls in that game. That's how Cleveland will pull away.
Yeah, and to wrap this episode of the Hardwood up, I'm gonna ask real quick, TJ, Cleveland or Golden State Game 5?
I should expect Golden State to win on their home turf, Game 5.
Chris, Golden State, Cleveland Game 5.
I'm going to go with Golden State in Game 5. I just have a feeling they're going to end it tonight.
So, there you have it. Golden State we're looking at Golden State to end it tonight. So, my vote doesn't matter. Golden State is voted to win with a 2-0 sweep on this panel. And so, tonight, Game 5, we look forward to seeing it. Will Golden State wrap it up? Will Cleveland extend to a Game 6 Thursday at 9? So, tune in to ABC, 9 o'clock tonight, for Game 5 of the NBA Finals. I am Joseph Potter. I'm thanking Trumaine Jenkins and Chris Ransom for joining me. So for those guys, well, all I have to say is thank you for showing up, and come back, see us again next Monday, 10:30, or we may have, if Cleveland stops it again today, or if Golden State wins today, we'll probably have a special stream tomorrow recapping the NBA Finals. So thank you, and have a good night.